Imina 38 na Legislature in Guam is called to order. For the prayer, I would like to invite Senator Shango Matauto to lead us, please.
If we can please rise. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gifts of life that you've given us. Thank you for this branch of government as we go about the work of you, for you, Lord, for the people of Guam and all that are out there that are continuing to recover from the most recent storm. Lord, look down on all of us, on the staff of our branch, as we do our work over the next few days. And always remember, or remind us, Lord, that we all do this for you in your heavenly name. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you. Senator Lujan, you're recognized. We're going to wave the national. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to waive session agenda items 3 through 5.
Motion was made. Session agenda items, not special. Session agenda items.
Session agenda.
3 to 5.
3 through 5, yes.
A motion was made to waive session agenda items 3 to 5. Are there any objections? Hearing seen no objection, motion carries. Recognition of the recipient of Imelazan Mastaculo na Sacrificio to express the never-ending and never-forgotten gratitude by the people of Guam. The legislature recognizes the recipients of Imelazan Mastaculo na Sacrificio on a display in the Guam Congress building and during each of the sessions. For the recognition of the recipient of Imelazan Mastaculo na Sacrificio, Vice Speaker Ada, you are recognized. Please stand.
On behalf of Grateful Island and Country, we honor Sergeant David John Funes and the family of Sergeant David John Funes for making the ultimate sacrifice in service and defense of our island and country.
Thank you. Be seated. Madam Clerk, please take a roll call.
Vice Speaker Ada. Senator Barnett. Speaker Blas. Senator Borja. Senator Calvo. Senator Duenas. Senator Gumatauto. Senator Lujan. Senator Munya Barnes. Senator Parkinson. Senator Perez. Senator Salas Matanani. Senator San Agustin. Senator Taitagui. Senator Terlahi. Mr. Speaker, there is a quorum.
Sidros Mossy, Madam Clerk. Majority Senator Lujan, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the legislative journals dated March 23rd, 2026, April 11th, 2026, May 1st, 2026, May 5th, 2026, May 14, 2026, and May 18, 2026, subject to corrections.
On the motion to approve legislative journals dated March 23, 2026, April 11, 2026, May 1, 2026, May 5, 2026, May 14, 2026, and May 18, 2026. Are there any objections? Seeing that there are no objections, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lujan, sir, you're still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are communications and petitions, and I move that they be appended into today's session journal.
On the motion that communications and petitions be appended to today's session journal, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lujan, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are messages from the Magahagan Guahan, and I move that they be appended in today's session journal.
On the motion that messages from Magahagan Guahan be appended to today's session journal, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lohani, sir, you're still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are reports of standing committees, and I move that they be appended in today's session journal.
On the motion that reports of standing committees be appended to today's session journal, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lohani, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are no reports of select committees.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that bills introduced, bill numbers 287-38 CRR through 29338 CRR, 294-38 LS through 296-38 LS, 297-38 CRR through 312-38 CRR, 313-38 LS, 314-38 CRR through 321-38 CRR, 16-S and 17-S, and resolutions introduced, resolution numbers 151-38 CRR through 157-38 CRR, 158-38 LS through 163-38 LS, 164-38 CRR through 185-38 CRR be deemed to have been given their first reading.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lohani, you're still recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to excuse senators not present for today's legislative session.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lohani, you are still recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that all congratulatory, commendatory, and condolence resolutions introduced today and for the remainder of this legislative session be considered first read and adopted, and to allow the Legislative Council to make technical corrections and to add all senators as co-sponsors.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Lohani, you are still recognized, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I move to place the nomination of Frank P. Ariola to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam on the session agenda.
On the motion, are there any objections? Any objections? Seeing and hearing no objection, motion carries. Senator Salas Matanati, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place the nomination of Ramona M. Doman to serve as the Guam Nurses Association representative on the Board of Trustees of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority on session agenda.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Senator Salas Matanati, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place the nomination of Dr. Erica Alford to serve as a physician representative on the Guam Board of Medical Examiners on the session agenda.
On the motion, are there any objections? There is an objection. There is an objection. All those in favor of the motion to place the nomination of Erica M. Alford, MD, to serve as a member of physician representatives of the Guam Board of Medical Examiners on the session agenda, please indicate by raising your hands. Motion fails. Senator Salas Matanati, you still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place the nomination of May A. Camacho to serve as a speech and language pathologist representative on the Guam Board of Allied Health Examiners on the session agenda.
Okay. On the motion, are there any objections? On the motion to place the nomination of May A. Camacho, MNS CCC-CLP, to serve as a member, speech and language pathologist representative to the Guam Board of Medical Allied Health Examiners on the session agenda, are there any objections? Seeing no objection, motion carries. Are there any other motions? Are there any motions? Senator Barnett, sir, you are recognized.
Sijos Masi, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon to the people of Guam. I'd like to motion at this time, notwithstanding the House rules, to place Bill 287-38 COR onto the session agenda. Mr. Speaker, this bill would lift the cap for Government of Guam employees' accrued annual leave amounts. And the reason why I'm motioning to put it onto this session agenda, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, is because in March, I wrote to you and I asked you to conduct an emergency session to address this issue. And the issue at hand is that the Attorney General has come out with a legal opinion, and it's his opinion that any amount of leave accrued over 320 hours will be taken from our hardworking government employees at the end of this fiscal year. And so I wrote to you asking for an emergency session. I wrote the chair of the Finance Committee asking for him to expedite the public hearing for this bill, dispensa. Unfortunately, I didn't receive any response from yourself or from the Finance Chair, Mr. Speaker, and government employees continue to contact our office relative to this issue. And I just asked the colleagues in the body to support placing this measure onto the session agenda. I'm open to amending it. I know that there's another measure that seeks to address and possibly remedy this concern that our Government of Guam employees have, Mr. Speaker. So humbly, I ask for the support of my colleagues in placing this bill onto the session agenda, notwithstanding the House rules, sir.
All right, before we dispense with this motion, we need to check with the clerks to see whether or not there's any reports uploaded onto the session drive or onto the legislative drive. Okay, so let's take a 1 minute recess. Legislature is back from recess. On the motion notwithstanding to place Bill 287-38 COR into the session agenda. Senator Dueñas, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize. I didn't think it was a secret. On Bill 28738, we have circulated through every committee to every oversight chair to do a compilation of the impact, first of all, on how many agencies and their employees, and I've been announcing this during public hearings also, during the budget hearings for the agencies, on the impact and how many employees they have with regard to this. We have 2 agencies left to submit, Mr. Speaker. The implication of this particular bill can have major fiscal impacts. As you know, every employee, via separation from the government, when we're talking about annual leave, is a full payout of all annual leave that is
Point of
due to the
information,
budget.
Mr. Speaker. Dispensa, I just have to correct that because my bill doesn't amend the amount for annual leave payout. It only amends the amount of leave government employees are able to accrue. So just on that point of information, sir, again, there's another item in the statute I'm amending further down that deals with annual leave payout, and I did not touch that. That remains at 320 hours. Mr. Speaker, respectfully dispense that.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. Colleagues, on the points, on any points, you just because you say a point and then you can go right into the into what you want to say, please don't until you are recognized. Okay? Thank you very much. Senator Dueñas, you can proceed, sir.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for that point as well. That point is well taken. However, it is still also, as our discussion with OFB and BBMR, and it needs to be vetted whether or not that's actually legal under annual leave. And so we are accruing all of that information from all of the agencies to understand that impact. The bill that is going to be heard soon, and I've talked to all of the agency heads and most agency heads and most employees, they have no problem with the extension for the year so that we can figure all of this out. And that's where we are. So the committee's been doing its due diligence, and the public hearing will be scheduled as soon as we get all the information. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, sir. On the motion, notwithstanding, are there any other senators wanting to speak on the motion? No one? Senator, you want to close?
Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to close. And again, what the bill 287-38 does. Time? Oh, maybe we take a short recess?
Short recess. Legislature back from recess. Senator Barnett, you can continue.
Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to close on the motion, and just like to remind my colleagues that this is absolutely a time-sensitive measure as we're addressing time-sensitive bills in this session. And you know, Mr. Speaker, I wish that I didn't have to go this route, but I introduced the bill back in March. I asked for an expedited public hearing. I never received a response. I asked for an emergency session to deal with this time-sensitive issue. I never received a response. And unfortunately, the chair of the Finance Committee in media reports said that he had no intention to hear my bill and that he was only going to hear another measure that seeks to address this issue as well. And that resulted in the Pacific Daily News publishing an opinion that implored the good chair of the Finance Committee to be fair and to hear both bills. That's why I'm open, Mr. Speaker, to not only placing my bill 287-38 onto the agenda, but any other measure that seeks to address this issue. As you know, we just endured Typhoon Sinlaku, and if we're being honest and realistic, there's not a lot of opportunity for these hardworking government employees to exhaust annual leave they rightfully earned. They rightfully earned this leave, and no matter what's in black and white on the books, the practice of allowing them to accrue this annual leave, it was done over the last however many years. So we have hardworking government employees, bus drivers, teachers, firemen, Guam Police Department officers who have accrued upwards of 320 hours. And at the stroke of midnight, at the end of September, that leave will disappear. It'll disappear in a puff of political smoke because the Attorney General has come out with this opinion that I feel like we are responsible to address this emergent crisis facing our government employees. I don't know if anyone in the hall talks to the government employees, because unfortunately it seems like they've been put on the back burner like many other things, but they're frustrated, they're angry that they've been allowed to rightfully accrue this leave, and now it's going to be unjustly taken away from them. And these are exactly the type of issues we're put into office to address, Mr. Speaker. So, you know, notwithstanding the House rules and notwithstanding any of the politics, I just implore my colleagues to support placing this measure onto the agenda for this session. Again, I've done the due diligence. I've written letters to everybody asking them to move this bill forward through the normal process. Unfortunately, those letters have, well, it seems like fallen on blind eyes, and the pleas have fallen on deaf ears. But again, this is not about this bill or me as a senator. This is about addressing this issue that's facing our hardworking government of Guam employees who, without a remedy, Mr. Speaker, stand to lose rightfully accrued annual leave at the end of September. So, si Diyos masi, and again, I humbly, respectfully ask for the support of my colleagues to place this bill on the agenda, the other bill from Senator Borja that also seeks to, I mean, honestly, I think we put both these bills together and we have a workable solution. So let's work to that solution, Mr. Speaker. Si Diyos masi.
On the motion,
I rise to a point of information, Mr. Speaker.
what's your point of information, sir?
My point of information, the incorrect description by the retiring speaker. I have never stated that I have no intentions of hearing the bill. I stated that the bill is not going to be scheduled at the same time that I've already scheduled for the bill by Senator Borja, because we will then have the opportunity for another year to address this issue. In the meantime, within this year as well, we will hear the other bill as soon as we get all the information from all the agencies so we can do a true impact and we can have a true fiscal note. We don't have that right now. And there is question as to whether or not through this bill we can change law on annual leave. We don't want to create another legal situation that we are having to deal with down the road, and that's what the committee is doing, Mr. Chair. I have never said I will not hear the bill. The bill will be heard within this session, but it will be heard after we have all of the information that the committee is compiling.
Thank you. Okay, on the motion, are there any objections to the motion? There is an objection to the motion. On the motion to place, notwithstanding the House rules, to place Bill number 287-38 COR into the session agenda. Okay? There has been an objection. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Motion fails. Okay. Okay, we are in legislative concurrence. You want to okay, we're still in motions before we go. Hang on. Gentlelady from Zonia, ma'am, you're recognized.
Zeus Mossy, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to, notwithstanding the House rules, move to place on the agenda Bill number 253-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure, which is an act to add a new Section 47113 to Chapter 47, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to prohibiting and deterring seabed mining in the waters of Guam and the surrounding areas. So this bill had a hearing on April 1st, and the committee report was submitted on May 5th. And the bill is time sensitive because the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, which is part of the Department of Interior, is not only quickly advancing their efforts related to offshore mineral development in the Mariana Islands, around the Mariana Islands, but it has doubled the area now being approved for mining. It's also proposing regulatory changes that raise concerns regarding transparency and meaningful engagement with territorial leaders and communities regarding the potential environmental impacts of deep sea mining. Pretty much they are enacting a rule that says they do not have to consult with governors of these islands anymore. Without proper oversight of our ports and our legal mechanisms necessary to establish penalties for entities seeking to use Guam as a staging or logistical hub for these deep-sea mining activities, Guam remains vulnerable to potential exploitation, environmental, and economic disaster. So this measure takes a clear and proactive stance against those activities that threaten our marine environment and sends a strong message to that our island will not facilitate or support seabed mining operations that place our natural resources, our ecosystems, the health of our communities, and our economy at risk. And I ask my colleagues to please help me to put this on the agenda and get this passed today before they move any further on this measure. Situs Masi.
Thank you. On the motion, notwithstanding, to place Bill number 253-38 COR into the session agenda. Are there any objections? No objections? So ordered. Gentlelady, ranking member from Pago Bay, may I be recognized?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I know that we're still in legislative concurrence, right?
No, we're still in motions. We're in motions. We're in motions. Well, I'm going to go to legislative concurrence next.
Okay, because Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to note that on one of the committees, the oversight on a nomination for the Director of Bureau of Women's Affairs, there is a sensitive timeline that it needs to be adhered to. If the nomination is not voted on, then there is an expiration date of tomorrow.
In my notes here, ma'am, I see that we are going to go ahead and address that. Okay? I assure you, it's in my notes. It's going to be addressed.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Senator Talay?
Sisus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, on that last motion. I have another motion, and notwithstanding the House rules, to place on the agenda Bill number 271-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Economic Investment, Military Buildup, Regional Relations, Technology, Regulatory Affairs, Justice, Elections, and Retirement. This is an act to add a new section 55.75 to Chapter 55, Title 9, Guam Code Annotated, relative to deterring the tampering of Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency seals. This is the bill that had a hearing on April 10th. The committee report was submitted on May 4th. And it's, again, time sensitive because this seeks to make the tampering of Customs and Quarantine Agency seals a third-degree felony. And that's a serious step, but I think it reflects the seriousness of the problem that we are facing here on Guam, drug crisis, and we cannot ignore the ways in which illegal drugs may be entering our island. So when a customs seal is tampered with, it undermines the entire inspection process, creates opportunity for drugs and other contraband to enter undetected. So this bill was unanimously supported at the hearing, and I think it's urgent that we implement this now so that this is to back customs up in deterring any tampering of their customs seals. So I ask my colleagues again to support that this be passed in this month, on this session agenda.
What's the bill number?
Number 271-38.
COR?
COR.
On the motion, notwithstanding.
Point of clarification, Mr. Speaker. During the Committee on Rules, we were told that we could only have one bill added to the session agenda that was time sensitive. So if you could kind of clarify if that rule is still in place now that we are in
Yeah,
session.
that is, but at the same time, ma'am, because we are in motions, I am compelled to respond to any legal motion, and this right now, it's a kosher legal motion. I understand. Okay, there is the standing, we had that rule, but it's now the basically the decision of the body, okay, as to whether or not. All right, so on that, notwithstanding the provisions of the House rules to place Bill number 271-38 COR into the session agenda. Do you have any objections? No. No, not yet. Okay. Okay. Any objections? There is an objection. Okay, there is an objection. So all those in favor of placing Bill number 271-38 COR.
If I could just close on that motion,
Go
Mr.
ahead and
Speaker.
close it, ma'am.
Jesus Masi. Again, colleagues, sounds like we're trying to limit the bills here that are put onto this agenda, but as you know, we only have session every other month, according to the new rules. And again, there are several bills that are trying to stop drugs from being imported into Guam, trying to stop this meth crisis that we have, trying to save our families from the disaster, the suffering that these families are going through with meth. This is just one measure, but it's a very powerful one. And it puts criminal penalties where there are none right now on tampering with those customs seals. There's only a civil penalty. So again, I urge my colleagues, we've all pledged that we are in here to stop meth, to make sure that we're going to take care of the people who are suffering from crime, suffering from health, suffering everything on Guam because of that. And so this is really just to put some teeth into what we are saying. And I urge you to please put this on the agenda today. Jesus Masi.
Okay. On the motion, there's been an objection. All those in favor of the motion to place Bill 271-38 COR onto the session agenda, okay, notwithstanding the standing rules, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion fails. Okay, now we're in legislative concurrence. Senator Adams, Vice Speaker Adams, sir, you're recognized. Or, I'm sorry, Senator Duenas, you're recognized.
Susmasi, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Finance and Government Operations the nomination of Louis R. Baza to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission with the recommendation to do confirm from my committee.
Okay, on the motion, are there any objections? There is an objection. All those in favor of placing the nomination of Louis R. Baza to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission into the voting file, please indicate by raising your hands. Motion carries. Vice Speaker Adams, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place the voting into the voting file from the Committee on Child Welfare, Youth Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women's Affairs, Disability Services, the Arts, Culture, Historic Preservation, and Agotnia Restoration, the nomination of Sarah G. Elmore Hernandez to serve as Director of the Bureau of Women's Affairs with the recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Vice Speaker Adams, you're still recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure the nomination of Justin D.A. Guerra to serve as a member, youth representative of the Parks and Recreation Commission with a recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Vice Speaker Adams, sir, you're still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Child Welfare, Youth Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women Affairs, Disability Services, the Arts, Culture, Historic Preservation, and Agotnia Restoration, the nomination of Lillian Gill to serve as member of the Guam Council of the Arts and Humanities Agency Board of Directors with the recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Borja, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting the nomination of Ronnie Aguerrero to serve as member representative with terminal degree in education of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification for a term of 3 years from date of confirmation, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Borja, you still have another one?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting the nomination of James Robert Kelly to serve as a member of the University of Guam Board of Regents for a term of 6 years from date of confirmation, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting the nomination of Clifton Samuel Thomas Netadog to serve as a member of the Guam Education Telecommunications Corporation, KGTF PBS Board of Trustees for a term of 4 years from date of confirmation, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On that nomination, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries.
Thank you,
One more?
Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Broadcasting the nomination of Domingo L. Ocampo to serve as member of Public Classroom Teacher Representative of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification for a term of 3 years from date of confirmation, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Taidewi, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon to my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I move to place into the voting file from Economic Investment, Military Buildup, Regional Relations, Technology, Regulatory Affairs, Justice, Election, and Retirement, the nomination of J.B. Jones to serve as a member of the Guam Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, with a recommendation to confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Vice Speaker Ada, sir, you're recognized. He's done. He skipped. I'll go to you. I'll go to you. On the nomination of Makepeace.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure the nomination of Annie M. Makepeace to serve as a member of the Tomorrowland Trust Commission, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Mr. Vice Speaker, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place into the voting file from the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure the nomination of Olan McElliott to serve as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, with a recommendation to do confirm.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Lujan, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place in the voting file from the Committee of Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs the nomination of Frank P. Ariola to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam, with a recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, are there any objections?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, are we moving to the voting file, or?
No. This is the concurrence.
Oh, yeah, I thought we're still on motions.
No, this is, yeah, legislative concurrence. We're in legislative concurrence now, man. It's not the voting file.
No, they've been putting onto the agenda those that were not, we were under motions to do that.
We did that.
Yeah.
We did that. I'll get, once we're done here and clear this, I'll get to you. On that motion from Senator Lujan for the nomination of Franklin P. Ariola, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Salas Matanani, did you want to On May, you ready to make Camacho? You want to
Yeah.
move it?
Yes. Dr. Ramona Doman.
You can proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Health and Veterans Affairs the nomination of Dr. Ramona Doman to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees for the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority as the Guam Nurses Association representative, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator Salas Matanani, you're still recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place in the voting file from the Committee on Health and Veterans Affairs the nomination of May A. Camacho, MNSCC CLP, to serve as the Speech and Language Pathologist Representative of the Guam Board of Allied Health Examiners, with the recommendation to do confirm.
On the motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. Let's take a 1-minute recess. Legislature is back from recess. Majority Leader Senator Lohan, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move to go to the voting file to act on these nominations.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, motion carries. Okay, we're in the voting file for the purposes of voting on the nominations, just the nominations. Okay. First off, on the nomination of Louis R. Baza to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission. All in favor, please raise your hand. Louis R. Baza received majority support and is duly confirmed by the body. On the nomination of Sarah G. Elmore Fernandez to serve as Director of the Bureau of Women's Affairs. Roll call.
Vice Speaker Atta. Vice Speaker Atta, yay. Senator Barnett. Senator Barnett, yay. Speaker Blas.
Yes.
Speaker Blas, yay. Senator Borja. Senator Borja, yay. Senator Calvo.
Mr. Speaker, motion to excuse senators not present today.
On the motion to excuse senators not present, any objections? So ordered.
Senator Calvo, excused. Senator Duenas. Senator Duenas, yay. Senator Gumatautau. Senator Gumatautau, yay. Senator Lujan. Senator Lujan, yay. Senator Munya Barnes. Senator Munya Barnes, yay. Senator Parkinson. Senator Parkinson, yay. Senator Perez. Senator Perez, yay. Senator Salas Matanani. Senator Salas Matanani, yay. Senator San Augustine. Senator San Augustine, excused. Senator Taitagui. Senator Taitagui, yay. Senator Terlahi. Senator Terlahi, yay.
Sarah G. Elmore Hernandez received 13 yeas to excuse. Sarah G. Elmore Hernandez is duly confirmed by the body. On the nomination of Justin D. Agara to serve as a youth member representatives of the Parks and Recreation Commission. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Justin D. Agara received unanimous support and is duly confirmed by the body. I'm sorry, I correct that, it's majority, there are 2 excused. On the nomination of Lillian Gill to serve as member, community representative of the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency Board of Directors, all in favor, please raise your hand. Lillian Gill received majority support and is duly confirmed by the body. On the nomination of Ronnie R. Guerrero to serve as a member representative with the terminal degree in education of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Ronnie R. Guerrero received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of J.B. Jones to serve as a member of the Guam Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. J.B. Jones received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of James Robert Kelly to serve as a member of the University of Guam Board of Regents, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. James Robert Kelly received majority support and is duly confirmed by the body. On the nomination of Annie M. Makepeace to serve as a member of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, all in favor, please raise your hand. Annie M. Makepeace received majority support and is confirmed by this body. On the nomination of Olin McElligott to serve as a member, general member representative of the Parks and Recreation Commission, all in favor, please raise your hand. Olin McElligott received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of Clifton Samuel Thomas Nedidog to serve as a member of the Guam Education Telecommunications Corporation Board of Trustees, all in favor, please raise your hand. Clifton Samuel Thomas Nedidog received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of Domingo L. Ocampo, MD, to serve as a member public classroom teacher representative of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, all in favor, please raise your hand. Domingo L. Ocampo, MD, received majority support and is duly confirmed by the body. On the nomination of Frank P. Ariola to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam, all in favor, please raise your hand. Frank P. Ariola received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of Ramona M. Doman, PhD, to serve as a member, Guam Nurses Association representative of the Board of Trustees for the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, all in favor, please raise your hand. Ramona M. Doman, PhD, CRNA, received majority support and is duly confirmed by this body. On the nomination of May A. Camacho, MNS CCC-CLP, to serve as a member, speech and language pathologist representative of the Guam Board of Allied Health Examiners, all in favor, please raise your hand. May A. Camacho received majority support and is confirmed by this body. Okay, we have exhausted all the items in that file. We're back to motions. Senator Borja, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can I move to place, make a motion to move to place Bill 309 in the order from the bottom as the last bill to the first bill that we addressed today, which is Bill 309, an act to amend Section 18 of Chapter 2 of Public Law 38-60 relative to granting greater flexibility to the Guam Department of Education to utilize lapsed funds.
Notwithstanding the House.
Notwithstanding the House rules.
On that motion to move Bill 309-38 to the top of the second reading file, to the top of the second reading file. Okay. Can you please explain why?
Mr. Speaker, that was at the request of the superintendent. The hope is that we can, depending on how long it'll take, so that we can try and you know, I don't know if she's assuming that we're going to pass it and then we're going to vote on it, and I don't think it's going to change that, but if we can, you know.
You asked for the motion. Okay. Okay, there's an objection to the motion. There's an objection for the motion to move 309 up to the top of the second reading file. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Motion passes. Motion passes. Any other motions? General lady from Zonia.
I'm going to try on one more motion, Mr. Speaker, and I beg my colleagues' indulgence. So, notwithstanding the rules, I'd like to move to place one more bill to our agenda, which only has 7 bills right now, or 8 bills. And this is to place bill number 270-38 COR. It's amended by the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. It's an act to amend Section 73128 and 73143 of Chapter 73, Title 5, and Sections 2406, 2412 of Chapter 2, Title 4, Guam Administrative Rules and Regs, relative to strengthening the inspection of incoming cargo in Guam. This bill addresses the civil penalties for tampering with cargo's inspections. It had a hearing on April 7th. It is, again, time-sensitive because it closes a loophole that currently exists and that we have heard in the news has allowed people to remove containers from the port and bring them to areas with a customs seal on them, and when that seal is removed, with very, very little penalties, very little way for customs to come back in there and stop what have already transpired. If something had been removed before they got there, when the seal had been tampered with. So this, again, was supported by many members of Customs who were here, including the director, and they said they very much need this because the penalties right now are just like $25,000. And this bill increases the penalties to $200,000. I'm sorry, it increases the penalty significantly, I think to $100,000. Sorry, I can't remember right now, but it increases the penalties because in the total of the year since 2019 to today, they've only collected $200,000 total in penalty. And no one has lost their license, which is mandated by the statute, because of these violations removing the customs seals. So this is to, again, reinforce those penalties of revoking any business license where they violate this customs law where they remove the seals before customs has given them the okay to do so, and it increases the penalty. And again, customs testified that this is very necessary to close that loophole. Again, we're trying to prevent contraband. We're trying to prevent drugs from coming in with, and to aid customs, who's testified that they were very short-handed. Now, I know some of my colleagues are concerned about adding more bills to the session. We only have 8 bills right now onto the session. I'm sure we can handle this, and if we're not going to come into session for another 2 months, this is something that I don't think we as a legislature should allow to wait. It's been put in front of us. We know what has happened. We know Customs has been unable to stop that. And this is another tool for them. And I think it's the least that we can do for not just Customs, but for the people of Guam. Again, to stop meth, to stop this crisis that we are in. And I'm of course a little saddened that the last bill that would put criminal penalties on was not allowed on the agenda, because these two go together, to stiffen criminal and civil penalties. And you know, I note that there was an objection, I think, from the public safety chair, and I can't see it. Our policemen are out there. They are the ones suffering, trying to stop the meth crisis. It lands in their hands when it gets past Customs. And it lands on our families and our grandparents who are dealing with this in their homes. So I'm again imploring my colleagues to please, let's put this on. We can handle one more bill on our agenda if we're not going to meet for the next 2 months, and let's just get this done. This is again bill number 270-38 COR.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of information, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as Chair of the Committee on Transportation as well, and CQA, the Port Users Group, the committee report had not been circulated in this particular bill. The Port Users Group had asked for a roundtable because of the repercussions that it may cause. We are trying to set that up now. Unfortunately, at this point, the dates that I have committed for my public hearings, I had surrendered to the Committee on Finance and Budget because of the special sessions that we've had. So we're looking again for other times that we can accommodate these roundtables for the Port Users Group. They're very concerned about the repercussions, the cost, and what was testified upon on the public hearing was there was quite a few times where these seals were broken, that it was not, again, it was a fault of maybe like an employee, but because it was a mistake that was made. And these, again, could cost businesses an enormous amount of money, but they're in favor of it, but they want, again, maybe some amendments to it, so that's why they wanted a round table. So that's why the committee report hadn't been circulated, because they asked again for some time to come in and have a roundtable on that alongside CQA and Port Police and anyone else that may want to again have their input in this bill.
Thank you. On the motion to place bill number notwithstanding to place the bill number 270-38 COR. And I recognize it's a notwithstanding motion. However, there is an area of our standing rules that requires that bills have committee reports for us to be able to consider, because being that this bill does not have a committee report on file, I'm going to rule that motion out of order.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. That motion was notwithstanding the rules because the hearing was held since April 7. These people did not attend the hearing, and there is no issue to them unless they're violating the customs seals. They would have no impact.
I understand. I appreciate. I do recognize that it wasn't a notwithstanding order. However, I go ahead and made the ruling, okay, in lieu of and in recognition of the notwithstanding order. If you wish to motion to try to overrule the ruling of the chair, I will entertain it.
Make that motion, Mr. Speaker. I think this is that important, yes, to stop the meth from coming in.
Okay, I didn't expect anything less. Okay, on the motion to overrule, okay, the ruling of the chair. Are there any objections? There is an objection. So on the motion, notwithstanding, or to overrule the ruling of the chair, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion fails. Okay, that we're done with motions. We go now into item 16, consent calendar. Okay, nothing on the consent calendar. Item number 17, now we're in the second reading file. So as second reading file, bill number 309-38 COR, Senator Bohar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to place Bill number 309-38, an act to amend Section 18 of Chapter 2 of Public Law 38-1660 relative to granting greater flexibility to Guam Department of Education to utilize lapse funds to the third reading, and I would like to speak on the bill.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, Bill 309 is straightforward. It doesn't create any new spending, and it doesn't increase the budget. It simply gives GDOE the flexibility to use its funds. It already has to pay. It has to pay outstanding obligations and address urgent needs. It also removes the ARP deadline language because the deadline has passed. And I want to be honest about what that has cost us. We gave back roughly about $3 million in ARP funding once that deadline lapsed. At the time when this bill was passed, Mr. Speaker, we were estimating $3 to $7 million. Right now, in the bank, the Department of Education has $70+ million. The money never disappeared. The work still has to be done, and now it'll have to be done with local funds paid by Guam taxpayers. But colleagues, the part that disappoints me the most is that we still have gyms and tracks falling apart. We still have built facilities with no bleachers. We still have coaches buying sports equipment to run sports programs. And we still have coaches calling me because they still haven't gotten their third quarter coaches' stipends. As a former coach, I'll say this plainly. These conditions are not acceptable. Students still run on a track where they're barely tripping and eating the dirt because the facility has not been repaired in decades. But our students still have to compete. They still show up and they still run. Their families come to watch, and in conditions none of us would accept for our very own children. I understand with the new administration, their priorities have changed. That's their prerogative, but we're still disappointed that the basic safe condition of our school facilities is not among the top of their priorities. Our students should not have to wait through another change in leadership to get a working gym, a working track, or a place for their families to sit. This bill does not fix everything, but it removes the one obstacle right now between GDOE and paying their power bill. I respectfully ask my colleagues for their support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, I have a couple amendments. If we could take a quick recess, we can get it printed.
Let's take a minute recess. Legislature is back from recess. Senator Bora.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to propose an amendment. The amendment numbers B309, VAB, L7, P1. It's to amend line 7, page 1, for the bill to read, striking out through Public Law 37-125 and add in prior fiscal years and shall not lapse, shall remain available until fully expended.
On the amendment, labeled B309 VAB L7 P1, amending line 7, page 1, striking out through Public Law 37-125, and replacing it with in prior fiscal years. On that amendment, Gentlelady from Merrill, ma'am, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a question about point of inquiry. If the proffer of this amendment can provide the amount that has lapsed in the prior fiscal years and still remains available to DOE.
Will the author?
I don't have that information at this time, Mr. Speaker.
Ma'am, he doesn't have that information at the time. You still have the floor.
You know, I'm not opposed for DOE to retain their funding, just for the, I guess, the exercise of diligence and clarity of what is there. Is that something that the proffer can obtain that information? If you can perhaps put a pause on this one till we get that information from DOE. It's probably just a quick phone call. Thank you.
Are you able to?
Mr. Speaker, there won't be like a final amount. I know it's pending an audit, so they just like for this amendment to be there so that when the audit is complete, they could use. There is money there. They just don't know what the actual number is.
Now, why don't we take a 1-minute recess? The two of you talk to each other, please. Back from recess. Senator Parrish, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my conversation with the proffer of the amendment, we came to an agreement that we can add to the reporting requirements. So if you look further down in the bill, there is already a reporting requirement, but I wanted to ensure that we included any lapsed funds that are received within that reporting requirement. So I do agree with the amendment as long as we have that particular reporting of that.
Okay, so we dispense of this, and
Sure.
then any other amendments, and then we can go back to you.
Yes, correct. And I know how important it is for GDOE to receive funds in order to ensure that schools are open on time, and for all the needs that they have. I mean, there's definitely not enough revenue, I feel, that we're providing to them. And so whatever we have, we should allow them to use it as expeditiously as possible. So I do rise in support of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the amendment, any other senators wishing to speak on the amendment? No other senators? Gentlelady from the joining, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to check on a couple things. Is this amendment going to include what is needed to reopen FBLG? If the sponsor would yield.
Ma'am, the amendment is for line 7, page 1. That's what the amendment is for, line 7, page 1.
Okay, in the prior fiscal year, sorry, I will talk about that amendment. On that amendment, there's several amendments. On that amendment, thank you. We're just changing the words through Public Law 37-125 to in prior fiscal years, and we're allowing them to use lapses from prior fiscal years now. We don't know which ones those are, but I just wanted to point out that almost all the other agencies that have come before us in critical need in the last few months, including GPD and Customs, who are really heavily relying on using their lapses, have been told their lapses are frozen. They are no longer able to use that, despite what the budget language had mandated. They're now being denied the use of lapses, and I want to know if anyone, including the sponsor, this is a big exception, I guess, to that policy, and I guess the reason they're even considering it, or we can consider this, is because GDOE controls their own accounts and is not being controlled by DOA, and I just think it's a shame that it's the exact same situation, that they planned on using lapses for certain things, and that these law enforcement agencies have been unable to use lapses. But of course, if DOE has this money in hand and they're able to use it, then I fully support that. And I'm glad we're finally getting to this. This is something that they had asked for in the discussions on the bill before this language came into play, the budget bill. And they had, at that time, been facing a $51 million shortfall in FY26, according to them, who were sitting right in front of us here telling us we have a shortfall for teachers, substitutes, aides, and food. $51 million. And that money had, at that time, been diverted to sports facilities and playgrounds over their objection. And it's been 8 months since that happened, and if they need this for the purposes as stated here, and they are additional funds, including prior fiscal years lapses that are available to them, then I support that GDOE is going to get full access to all their lapses. Situs Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the amendment, are there any other senators wishing to speak on the amendment? No other senators. Senator Borja, you can go ahead and close your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just to clarify, in regards to the retiring speaker, based on the submission, and I could share that with my colleagues on what this money is going to be spent for. None of the stuff that was mentioned is what this lapse funding is going to be used for. Just to put on the record, because the previous administration did say that it may prevent them from using it for CBA positions or teachers, but the lapse funding is not being identified to use for that. So I just wanted to clear that up, Mr. Speaker. But I don't have anything else, so I just wait till closing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the amendment, are there any objections? On this amendment, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered. Senator Borja, you still have some amendments?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The next amendment, B309 VAB L7P2, this will be on line 7, page 2. I move to amend line 7, page 2 for the bill to read payment of utility expenses and include payment and procurement of special education services and the procurement of instructional equipment. And this amendment, Mr. Speaker, is for the ensure that they use this money to, or allow this, or have to pay for the special education busing, and also pay for the tiny eye services. And again, this was at the request of the superintendent during the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I gave my colleagues support.
On the amendment, B309 VAB L7P2, line 7, page 2. On that amendment, are there any discussions on the amendment? Are there any objections to the amendment? No objections to the amendment, so ordered. Senator Boyd, you have one more?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This one's B309 VAB L4P2. This amendment, I'm asking my colleagues to support this amendment to amend the bill to read, all we're doing is taking out Typhoon Senlaku and just leaving it as resulting from typhoons or other severe weather events, or amending it to read that, Mr. Speaker. And this is just we don't want to restrict it to just Typhoon Senlaku should any other weather events occur. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the amendment, B309 VAB L4P2, striking out the word Typhoon Senlaku and just striking out that word Typhoon Senlaku. The words Typhoon Senlaku. Any other senators wishing to speak on the amendment? Any objection to the amendment? No objections, so ordered. Okay. On the bill as amended, gentle lady, let me go first to the gentle lady from the ranking member from Pago Bay, and then I'll go back to you, Senator Perez. Okay?
Situs Masi, Mr. Speaker, I promise I'll make this short. I just want to stand and rise in support of this measure 309-38 CR and thank the author for continuing to share with me in the co-sponsor, let me share in the co-sponsorship of this measure, as it gives the flexibility to the DOE to utilize the funds that they have. And again, simply put, the necessary amendments that were included just truly strengthens this measure to help the Department of Education as we continue to work closely with the superintendent and of course with the board, and I'm very appreciative to support this measure moving forward. Sisos Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill as amended, gentle lady from Barragata, ma'am, you are again recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I do have the amendment ready. It's been submitted to the drive, and thanks to legal for preparing this. It adds basically the amendment reads, to amend the bill to read, the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education shall submit a detailed report, and this is what's added, including the total amount of lapse funds received pursuant to this act and any expenditures made pursuant to this section to Y Legislature and Guahan no later than 30 days after the end of each fiscal quarter. And so this ties up my question previously regarding the amendment to allow GDOE to use funds from prior fiscal years, and this just ties it up so that we know exactly how much they will be receiving. And that should be included in their report. And this is important because in order to, I guess, put tabs on how much they are getting and, whether they're spending them appropriately and in a expeditious amount of time in order to get the schools ready and ensure that, perhaps FB can start their school, start within their school. I'm getting weird looks. Start their school on time, amongst other things. So just to be in the know, I think it's always a good thing. Ask for my colleagues' support on this.
Okay, why don't we, because that sounded pretty long-winded, so let's go ahead and take a short recess so we can get the amendments out to people. Okay? Sounds good, but just get the amendments out, okay?
Thank you, Speaker.
All right, short recess. Legislature is back from recess. Senator Paris, ma'am, you now with your amendment. Can you go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this amendment, what this does, it updates the reporting requirement since we passed that amendment to include prior fiscal years. And so this just reflects that change so that it includes in the report any amount of lapsed funds pursuant to this act. I ask for my colleagues' support on this. Thank you.
On the amendment, are there any senators wishing to speak on the amendment? Any objection to the amendment? No objections, so ordered. Senator Perry, you still have the floor, man. Okay. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? Gentleman from Talafofo, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity this afternoon to offer brief remarks regarding Bill 309. I appreciate the Education Chairman's continued efforts to shore up resources for our public school system, and this measure is another example of how the 38th Guam Legislature, through public policy, is prioritizing resources for our educators, staff, and the thousands of school children entrusted to their care. Mr. Speaker, while I remain concerned that the administration has made it clear that unspent prior year appropriations for our public safety agencies, particularly GPD and GFD, are not available to these critical organizations, it was helpful to learn directly from the former Speaker and now Superintendent Judy Wampat that GDOE's unspent appropriations are backed up by real cash in the bank. Just a little bit of a note, according to the Office of Public Accountability, GDOE's FY 2024 ending fund balance reflected a general fund surplus of $77 million, representing unassigned and uncommitted local cash resources. Mr. Speaker, GDOE is sitting on a lot of cash, $77 million, or nearly 5 times more than the entire general fund appropriation of $19.2 million, which funds the operations across our 19 villages, slightly more than twice the amount of UOG's current general fund appropriation of $39.9 million, and 3 times more than the Guam Community College's total appropriation of $23.8 million for FY 2026. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that GDOE, through the bill's public hearing, expressed confidence in encumbering these lapses, their lapses, within a 12-month period. Together with a spending plan, a tight schedule, it must be in place, ensuring that the projects across our public school system move forward quickly, consistent with appropriate reviews by GDOE and the Attorney General of Guam as applicable. $77 million is taxpayer money, and these resources must not be spent for the sake of zeroing out an account. Expenditures must be targeted and aligned with GDOE's long-term instructional, personnel, and facility plans, much of which we heard about recently. Simply put, these resources must be spent wisely, and facility-related projects, for example, must be vetted so that investments in our schools are well thought out based on current and anticipated student-teacher ratios, which continues to change by the day, maintenance requirements, and potential facility closures or consolidation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to share these thoughts on this bill, and I look forward to hearing more from our body. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. On the bill as amended, are there any other senators wishing to speak on the bill as amended? On the bill as amended? Let's take a 1-minute recess. back from recess on the bill as amended. Gentlemen, from EPAN, sir, you're recognized.
Siduswasi, Mr. Speaker, and buenas day to the people of Guam, and congratulations to our GDOE elementary school students who are, well, all our GDOE students who are finishing their last day of school today. I was over at Liguan Elementary to present a retirement certificate to Miss Barry May Macias, who spent 28 years of dedicated service to our schools and our students. So I know everyone's excited for summer. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill. The author in his open talked about how this bill would remove obstacles in the Guam Department of Education's way, these obstacles preventing them from spending their lapsed funds on things that they need to spend them on. And I just find it a little ironic, Mr. Speaker, that the very obstacle that this bill seeks to remove from GDOE's path is an obstacle that this Republican majority put in front of the Guam Department of Education during the budget session. It was the amendment that we're now trying to amend that handcuffed the Guam Department of Education, that prevented them from spending their lapsed funds on things like the FB Leon Guerrero Gym, on things like special education, tiny eyes, procurement. And at the time, Mr. Speaker, as you may recall, I objected to the amendment. I argued against it precisely because of the same arguments that the author is making for its passage. You know, I said that the amendment at the time would handcuff the Guam Department of Education and would limit their ability to spend their lapses. At the time, I argued that the amendment would be an obstacle in front of the Guam Department of Education. And as we are here, Mr. Speaker, in this session to address time-sensitive bills, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what the OPA had said about the construction of Simon Sanchez and DPW's attempt to claim that there was a substantial interest because the OPA, a hearing officer, had ruled that the government of Guam itself created the delay, and that's why we have such an urgent issue. So it's a little bit of the same scenario, Mr. Speaker, as we're in here on time-sensitive issues. But what we're doing with this bill is we are congratulating ourselves for solving a problem that we created when we amended the budget bill and we narrowed GDOE's ability to spend their lapsed funds on just playgrounds and sports facilities, Mr. Speaker. And since we are in here on a time-sensitive matter, and this bill, as the author and others who support it are arguing it's very urgent, I agree. I agree this is an urgent issue, and that's why I introduced a bill that does exactly the same thing this bill does on March 6th. That's why, Mr. Speaker, on March 18th, I wrote to the finance chair and asked the finance chair to expedite a public hearing precisely because this is an urgent matter.
Keep it to this bill.
I'm keeping it to this bill. It's all relevant, Mr. Speaker. I never received a response from the finance chair. I'm starting to see a trend here. I also, I'm getting, it's relevant to the bill, Mr. Speaker, respectfully. I also asked you for an emergency session to address this same issue, and it was, well, I also got no response, Mr. Speaker. So, you know, we're being honest and we're saying we're in here on a time-sensitive issue to solve a problem that we ourselves created, then let's just be honest about it, because in presenting solutions, it really seems like the body looks at whose name is on the bill before they even entertain any solution, Mr. Speaker. So, you know, I'm going to vote for the bill because, again, it's what GDOE has expressed that they needed. Hagasat, ever since the last budget cycle, they were telling us that this is exactly what they needed, but we didn't want to listen then. And so, to quote a phrase, it is what it is, Mr. Speaker. So I just wanted to share these comments on the record to give a little bit of the history of this issue and where we stand today. But more importantly, why We stand here today, Mr. Speaker. As you all know, we stand here today because the obstacle that we're trying to remove from GDOE's path is one that we put there ourselves. Si dus masi, Mr. Speaker.
You're very welcome, sir. Senator Boy, you willing? Close. Senator Duenas, sir, you recognized.
Susan Mossy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the public hearing and read the committee report, you'll see an exchange that I had with the Finance Chair, Frank Leon Guerrero, as well as the Superintendent, where it was clear that when we were discussing the budget, there was not $77 million available in lapsed funds. In fact, Mr. Speaker, if we go back to the history of what caused a lot of issues in Department of Education from the time when there was a suspension of some of their federal funds, and then there was a reactivation, it was this education chair, along with the Finance Committee and BBMR, who met to ensure that Department of Education was aware of the lapsed funding that they actually already had in cash to use to restart the ability to get reimbursements on the federal grants and federal programs that were being administered. At that time, and even up to very shortly ago, Mr. Speaker, I believe it was right around 60 days, maybe less, because I had a pre-budget meeting with DOE. What made it $77 million was the $52 million in funding, federal funding that was suspended for a while, that had to be cleared by audit because it was used under ARP, and there was questions as to whether or not the purpose for which it was being used would be proper. It's really only up until recently, Mr. Speaker, that between even the audit department within Department of Education that was saying, make sure you clear this up, because if you spend this money and there is no other appropriation to deal with the expenditures that you would be incurring, then there would have to be another local appropriation for it. That is the reason why, Mr. Speaker, as well, discussions with the superintendent and Mr. Frank Leon Guerrero, the new finance chair, there are many projects that they actually could get to, and they're going to work on a potential CIP project for all of their projects coming forward for the different schools, as they also have a new facilities individual that's going over sports and other facilities that they'd like to see that they do one improvement at one time if they could through financing. They could use this. But as the superintendent, if you go back to the committee report once again, said, we have to do what our priorities are first, to include FB and to include other projects that are on the priority list. Mr. Speaker, if they could have used this money already, they would have in terms of FB, but outside of the projects and the expenditures and the bills that this current fiscal officer is operating under, they're being efficient and they're paying everything now. So the list that they have going forward, and to finalize as well, yes, there are other bills, but even during that time, another bill, Mr. Speaker, but even during that time, it was our work with the Department of Education where we ensured that they gave us a list. Now, we're not sticking to the rigidity of actually appending that because they do need flexibility, but they came out with a project list to say, yes, this is what we're going to spend it on. So all of this evolution, Mr. Speaker, has led to this bill, and you just simply go to the committee report And you'll see them answering those questions absolutely true. That now is the timing when they're prepared to execute this and when they're confident that they will not lose that $52 million. That did not exist in surety during the budget process, Mr. Speaker. That much I can tell you, and that much can be audited, and that much is true to include the other Franklin Cooper nurse, who was the one who was warning them. Be careful, because this is not cleared to be expended. That is the reason, Mr. Speaker, why we are here now on the largest part of the corpus of funding available that has most recently been assured is available. I support the bill, and I hope the rest of our colleagues will as well. Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. On the bill as amended, Senator Boyer, you want to? Oh, hang on. He's closing. You want to keep? General lady from Jonia, go ahead. You can speak, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and if the author of the bill would yield, I also was reviewing the committee report and wanted to know. So at the time, and this looks like April 28th, the Superintendent of Education had testified that there were $26 million in prior year lapse funds and $51 million in ARP salary reimbursement potentially. And at that time, they were awaiting a letter of determination from U.S. DOE to allow for the unrestricted expenditure of that $51 million. And I would, if the sponsor would yield, have they received between the public hearing and today this letter of determination?
Will the sponsor yield?
As of the last time I spoke to the superintendent, they still have not got any clarification. So they still can't use the $51 million at least of the reimbursement.
All right, so while we pass this bill today, there really is no assurance, as the previous speaker had said, about this $51 million being able to be available to DOE. But we've always known about this $26 million prior year lapse funds because it was prior to 2026, in fact. And that's why it was included in the 2026 budget that we were talking about allowing them to use lapse funds for different purposes. And I'm happy to hear that this is going to also cover what's needed at FBLG, and it's going to cover capital improvements. Some of the testimony says it's going to cover necessary, or I guess the previous amendment says it's going to cover necessary services for special education. And so not necessarily just capital improvement projects. And, but again, I support this bill that will allow for DOE to have the flexibility to use their prior year lapses for these purposes as specified in the bill. That's exactly what we did during the budget session, was support DOE to use its prior year lapses for purposes of advancing ARP-related expenses first, and then for other purposes until it was amended to be restricted only to upgrading of GDOE school sports facilities and playgrounds. And that's when we had a big debate in here whether we should restrict that much, $26 million in lapse funds only for that, while DOE was right in front of us telling us they were $51 million short in their operations as what the legislature committee had proposed for them, short for teachers, substitutes, aides, and food. And again, so we could have taken care of that during that budget session, which was 8 months ago. So for 8 months, GOE has been without assurance of the flexibility to use these lapsed funds. And I just think that's a shame. They were practically begging us when they were in here. I remember so clearly the testimony of the facilities manager about how desperate they were, and that how, I can't remember his exact words, but I remember the emotion very clearly, and that he had worked so hard and was really pleading with us that we needed, that they needed those monies to be let go at that time for their use, for all things that they needed at that time, including FBLG. And so I just think that's a shame that we had to wait 8 months to give them that flexibility. And I also think it's a great shame, as I brought up earlier, that we see the benefit of allowing GDOE to use its lapses, but we have completely denied even a hearing on bills that have remandated after the budget by the legislature mandated that GPD Customs is going to be able to use their lapses. So we are tying those law enforcement agencies' hands while we are demanding of them in these extreme circumstances with a meth crisis on our island, from helping us, from helping families, from stopping crime. So we tie their hands in so many ways by not allowing them to use lapses, but here we allow DOE to use lapses. We tie their hands by not backing up their enforcement with criminal penalties and increased civil penalties by denying those bills to be put on the floor. So, but I support that DOE is going to get this flexibility that they should have got 8 months ago and not had to beg for it. Tituus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
On the point of information.
So when we talk about customs and other areas where they don't control their money, they're currently lapsing, I believe on the last public hearing we had, $5 million. Also, if you go back to the committee report, now that we have a fiscal officer that actually pays the bills and spends money and knows how to spend money, they're only tracking $1.2 million in lapses for this year, where those others who were begging for money had cash in the bank. But for some reason, they had a system operating that they couldn't spend it, and that's on the record.
Thank you. Why don't we just...
Point of information, I'm not sure how that was relevant, but because he brought it up, the lapses also exist because they're not done with this fiscal year. So they are tracking lapses, everyone is, because we still have months to go before the end of the fiscal year. And regardless of whether they had it or they didn't, we told them they had it and they could use it. And they had counted on that. And they had plans for that. Just like GDOE had plans for these lapses before it was moved and dedicated only to sports facilities.
Okay. Thank you. Senator Boyle, close on this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to do a point of everything because I'm confused.
Sorry, excuse me, can I have a point of maybe a quick recess? I just wanted to make a point, really quick point. Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're catching everything, right, so that we don't come back here. Because when I'm looking at this list, it, you know, the thought of not getting reimbursed for personnel cost, and it's not, to me, it's not listed here. So perhaps we can add some language to this.
The language can be added, ma'am, in a bill that you can submit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it could easily be added as an amendment by the retiring.
Thank you. We've already we have expended that opportunity, ma'am. And you know that. I gave you the opportunity.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is an opportunity.
Senator Boyle, you're recognized. Senator Borja, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how, like, you know, when I proposed this amendment, I'm just confused how it got mixed up. You know, when I did this, I didn't just stand up and make this amendment. I talked to GDOE. At the time, there was an understanding that there was still 20-some million left in ARP invoices that still would have needed to be paid. There was no expectation of this 51 million. So to continue to say that we were tying their hands at the time, they knew that there was going to be 20 million that they needed to put on a revolving fund to get reimbursed for the ARP. And so at the time when we talked about it, GDOE Superintendent Swanson didn't like it at the time, but they knew what we were trying to do. And you know, to say that we're here patting our back because we're doing something good for GDOE, no, I'm actually upset that we're trying to do it, or we're doing it but this is what the superintendent wants. And I'm okay with that because it's important. But at the same time, it's still important that we need to address the sports facilities that we've neglected for decades. I'm sorry. We see it. I mean, even at the time when I proposed this amendment, Mr. Speaker, if any of my colleagues didn't go to Southern at the time, they were conducting PE in the hallways of Southern High School. In their regular uniform, school uniform, to get PE credit, they couldn't shower because the gym was shut down. So no, I'm not sorry that I did that, and I'm not patting myself on the back because I'm here to say let's change let's undo what we did because it was important at the time. And that's the problem with some of my colleagues here. I bet you if somebody fell at the track and they were bleeding and their parents went and cried to the legislature, we'd be all up in arms because we care about our children, Mr. Speaker, and that's the problem that that's something we need to stop doing. I get it, we need to pay our bills, but this is money that they should have spent. This is money that they said they were gonna use, and yeah, they said they were gonna use it to pay all these things. At the beginning, somebody said it was going to pay for teachers and CBA positions. That was not what was said at the time. It was for ARP. So I'm just confused how we continue to flip the narrative and they accuse us of doing all these different things. We were tying hands. Even now, I mean, the 54 million, to stand here and say that the 54 million is going to fix FBLG, they don't even know that. So I don't even know why they're saying that. We don't even know if we're going to be allowed to use it. So we're saying that. And, you know, good soundbite, they're excited, 54 million, we're gonna fix FBLG. Then what are we gonna say when Department of Education comes back and says, no, you can't use it? Nobody's gonna say anything. But right now we're saying that it's because of us and because of that amendment, FBLG, I wish I could say the word, but you know, pura babaria is like my grandma says all the time. That's what we have to defend. Because I'm not sure how what we intended to do at the time got turned into all these. Mr. Speaker, I'm not happy that I support this amendment, but I'm not happy that we're changing the law because the intent is still the same. We need to fix the problems that this legislature failed to do for the last couple of decades. So with that, I ask my colleagues to support the students or support the superintendent's request and pass this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do you want to move this to third?
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to place Bill 309-38 as amended on the floor to the third reading file for consideration.
On that motion, are any objections to the motion? No objections to the motion? So ordered. Colleagues, we're going to go ahead and recess and resume at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay, we'll resume at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're in recess.